Yeah, get your ass over here. I've never understood the idea of replacing your hand with a hook. Like, what's the purpose of that? You always see it with pirates, and it's always made me wonder why. Like, I get it, it's like a prosthetic, so you can replace your hand and, have something like a tool that's slightly more useful than absolutely nothing. But let's think about this for a second. What does a hook really enable you to do? If anything, it makes your life a living hell. Like, surely, like, even just the stub of not having a hand would be more useful and practical in your daily life than a fucking hook. I mean, let's think about it. How do you take a piss, for one? You got this fucking hook in your hand. How the fuck do you take a piss? I mean, I guess you gotta go one-handed, but then you always run that risk that you're gonna, slip up and, well, if that happens, you're really fucked, let's be honest. So I've just never I never understood the purpose of having a hook for a hand. It just doesn't make practical sense, and these guys are fucking assholes. I'm gonna run through this place because there's too many of them. You'd think that they'd have other types of prosthetics, like golden hands or something, like a golden hand that you can just latch on to replace the other one. Now, you couldn't move the fingers, of course, but it'd probably still be more practical than, a hook, which really can't do anything but slice your dick off. I mean, I guess it can do some things. I mean, maybe it has some practical purpose while sailing, like maybe you could use the hook to grappling across some place, or you can use it to pull on a rope, or you can use it to fight people because it's got a sharp pointed end. But to be honest, that's kind of where the practicality ends. Also, these are level 54s, so we gotta be legit careful in here. Mine the Blurite. Ah, fuck, I need a mining level of 10. Okay, well, that means I need to go level up my mining, and I need to get the fuck out of here before these guys attack me, because God knows they're going to. That shouldn't take too long, though, luckily. I think going for a proper mining level isn't going to be too hard. We just have to go over to Blurite, and there's like a little mine there we can go into, and we can just, just mine out some stuff. And this actually helps satisfy our other quest requirements, because there is another quest after this that we do have to do that does involve mining. It actually involves the monopolization of mining, as this poor dwarf's individual, single, family-owned mining company is, wiped out of existence by, I don't know, Copper Tech or something. Honestly, I'm not surprised about that, though, to be honest with you. If anything, that's kind of in and of itself a dark fantasy concept. The idea that giant corporations actually were there corporations in the medieval period. You don't really hear about corporations in the medieval period. You always, when you think of corporation, you always think of something new, like a new company, like a giant office building with technology and stuff. But surely there had to be businesses and companies and large enterprises back during the old medieval times, back during the Renaissance as well. There had to be. There had to be massive trading coalitions. There had to be giant things, giant projects. I mean, it would make sense, right? I mean, was that not what the Mayflower and stuff that came over to the U.S. was? Were they not a privatized company? I'm almost certain that they were. I'm almost certain they were a company commissioned by Spain and by Britain and by multiple other organizations and multiple other countries to colonize. I think that's pretty much what happened. I might be wrong in that, though. I know the East India Company did a lot of crazy fucked up shit, but I'm not sure about the Western versions of those companies. I'm not sure about, like, the colonization companies. Because I'm almost certain that, the colonization companies were a thing. I'm almost certain that they were the ones behind the funding of building these colonies, because, let's be honest, the kingdom doesn't do everything for the economy. I'm pretty sure that even back in those days, we were very capitalistic for the most part. I'm pretty sure that most countries were very capitalist, and by that logic, that means most noble families probably own some kind of big business or enterprise, which would include a trading organization, or maybe a colonial organization, or maybe like a plantation organization, and maybe they're probably the ones that commission the fleets, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not sure if you know how economics really work in regards to countries, but typically it's not very good. I can't imagine, if the United States is in the type of shit it is now, If the entire world's in the type of shit that it is now in terms of how much money our governments have, I can't imagine the kings and queens days of old were that much better. They had to spend money on armies too. They couldn't invest money in everything. They probably needed help, and that's probably where these weird corporations came from. It's just interesting that you don't hear about this kind of stuff in school. Like, public education does not talk about nearly as much as it needs to when it comes to history, or when it comes to world history, or when it comes to geography, when it basically comes to anything. The only thing, in my experience, that public education does, ever, in terms of history, is tell you how great your country is. Like, literally, they'd sit there for hours talking about, oh, the United States is so great, pledge allegiance to the flag, blah, blah, blah. But they don't talk about the dark side of it. They don't talk about the fact that after the Revolutionary War, there was almost a second war in this country. They don't talk about that. They don't even mention the War of 1812. They don't mention how fucking White House in Washington, D.C. was burnt down. They don't mention any of that shit. Literally, they just glaze right over it. This is how it went for me. Revolutionary War, Age of Industry. Like, what? Are you seriously telling me that we jumped from the Revolutionary War into the Age of Industry? Do you know how many things happened in between that? I mean, we do talk about the Constitution and stuff a lot, but do you know how much stuff we missed there? The War of 1812, the XYZ agreements, what is it called? Fucking hell, I can't remember it, but I think it's called the Quasi-Wars? We never talk about that kind of stuff. We never do. It's ridiculous. And those are some pretty important parts. Those are some pretty important details. And we just glance right over them like they don't exist. It's kind of ridiculous. Oh, I walked past the mine. It's right there. Okay, so we gotta go in there. We gotta get this stuff. Yeah, it's literally ridiculous. We need... Oh, that's not the mine. Well, I guess the mine's over here then? We need to start focusing on this kind of stuff, because I get the impression that a lot of my fellow Americans here do not actually know their own history, let alone the history of the world. I mean, I don't even know the history of the world that well. I honest to God don't. Really telling. It's really fucking telling of U.S. education. We need to get our shit fucking straight. Seriously. Okay, well, I'm gonna mine some tin and stuff. Well, I don't need to mine specifically the 2 ores. I just need to level up. What is my actual level right now? I've got... Where is mining? I've only got level 4 mine. Oh, we're gonna be here for a while. It's gonna take a lot of grinding to get that up. I might as well gather both types of ore, because I'll be honest with you, I think I actually need another smithing level as well for this next quest. I'm almost certain that I'm going to need to get my smithing up to at least 10 as well, so I'm probably going to mine both copper and tin so I can make its composite bronze, and then smelt the bronze into daggers, bronze daggers, and then sell those bronze daggers on the market, They're probably not worth any money. I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, you used to get a bronze dagger for doing the tutorial quests, so literally the need to build one, or even buy one, is redundant. But, I guess I can sell them anyway, or try to. I mean, I'm not doing that bad. He says only having 5,000 gold when a single red berry pie goes for the cost of like 1,200. Yeah, I'm really not doing very well either, to be honest with you. I could definitely use some more money. I haven't really been focusing on money making. It used to be the biggest thing that I did. Like 90% of my time in the members world was dedicated to making money so that I could buy some really badass gear. I mean, I spent days just grinding up my mining levels and mining up everything so that I could afford some basic dragon equipment when I was first able to use that. Which was pretty legit, might I add. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it. That dragon equipment is very powerful. I only got up to dragon tier. I never actually managed to get the legendary weapons like the god sword and stuff. I never actually managed to get those, unfortunately. Kinda sucks because the god sword looks fucking amazing, might I just say. It looks really fucking cool. So where's this light coming from? I mean, that seems to tell me that there are holes in the ceiling that the light is coming through, but we're not that far down underground. Like, this cave isn't that far down. And if there's actually light coming through, shouldn't I see holes in the surface as well? You know? Unless this is another dimension, I'm pretty sure there should be holes up in the surface of this mine shaft. Unless they covered them up, but then the light wouldn't be coming through. Also, where are we? I mean, this would be in the mountain. According to my map, this mine shaft would be inside the White Wolf Mountain. It's like Geralt's Mountain, right? So where the fuck are these holes coming from? There should be like miles upon miles of dirt above our heads, not fucking giant cavernous holes. You know, that guy's taking that ore, so I can't really do anything there. Okay, I'll come over here and do this one. This is taking... This one rock is taking literal years. What is going on? Come on! I swear to God, if this asshole steals the fucking rock from me, I'm gonna fucking shank his ass. Not even shank, I'll impale him with the fucking pickaxe. Also, I'm surprised pickaxes weren't used as a form of weapon, because, let's be honest, it's a very brutal design. Like, a pickaxe, it's a pretty powerful thing. That could definitely take down someone's skull at the very least. I mean, I guess it's kind of an unconventional weapon because, you know, there are things that are better. But, you know, a pick wouldn't be that bad at taking on armor, for example. I mean, an armored foe, you usually try to use a blunt weapon on an armored foe to kind of break the armor off. I mean, a cutting weapon like a sword isn't going to do a lot of damage to armor. You'd actually have to hit in the weak parts. You'd have to hit when the armor links together in order to do anything with that. But I think a pickaxe might be able to do it because it's got a sharp edge, sure, but it's also kind of a blunt object in and of itself. It's a very good piercing weapon, and I think that could actually do some serious damage to armor. I'm just saying, it really could. I wonder if they actually used pickaxe style weapons. Maybe not pickaxes, but maybe something similar to them. Let's just smelt up here. Smelt some bronze bars. This is the first time I think I've actually smithed in this game. I used to smith all the time. Smithing is probably one of my biggest pastimes when it comes to Runescape. I would just do it constantly. For no other reason than just to do it. Because, I don't know, I've always found it to be interesting. I've always had the thought in my mind that if I lived in a fantasy medieval world, I would be like a blacksmith or something. It's just always been there as a thing. Well, we're going to smith a bunch of maces. I don't think you can actually fail at smithing, which is kind of odd, because you'd think it'd be something that you could fail at doing, and you could create, instead of like a mace, like a stick of iron, or a stick of bronze. There we go. Well, I leveled up to level 3 in smithing. And I've got 3 offhand bronze maces, which... did I level up my mining level by chance to the proper level? No, I don't think I did. I'm only at level 6. I got a long way to fucking go with this shit. Okay, well, I'm going to go store some shit in my bank. I'm going to store this stuff up. I'm going to actually store my food as well, because I don't necessarily need it immediately, and if I could just go a few minutes without having to take care of that kind of stuff, it'd be great.